Hey guys, welcome back. Today I am going to create a layout for my Life Crafted album, and I'm using the October scrapbook add-on kit from Citrus Twist. This kit is just chock full of all sorts of gorgeous crepe paper marigold goodies. It's such a beautiful collection. I just love it. As well as all of that crepe paper stuff, there are some exclusive alphas from Citrus Twist and a whole bunch of like vintage findings and book papers. It's a beautiful kit. I've used it a ton this month and I'm looking forward to using it for this layout. I've begun this layout by printing out my photos. I've got two small, they're about 2-inch square photos for the left hand side of my spread, and on the right hand side I have printed a full page Life Crafted sized photo. So that is 5 inches wide by 8¼ inches tall. Now I've also trimmed out a matching left side with just white cardstock, and I have hole punched both of those with my 6-hole punch, so I'm ready just to build this layout and pop it into my album. Now, as far as the layout goes, I created these small little photos because I know from working in this kit previously this month that there are some gorgeous little die cut elements in there, and actually I've already cut apart, I'm pretty sure there's three different cut apart sheets in this collection, or in this kit, and I've already cut apart all 3 of those. So what I'm working with here is a collection of the actual die cut ephemera pieces from the pack, and also the pieces that I've already gone ahead and die cut here. So that's some of these larger pieces. My photos are a little bit smaller, so some of those bigger pieces, they weren't particularly suited to this layout, so I am going to go back and just use some of the pieces from the actual die cut pack. You can see here I've layered these 2 little photos, and I'm going to go ahead and start sticking stuff down as I go, because I know from experience, for me anyway, I tend to forget how these layers go the longer I leave them there, and then I start messing with them and pulling them apart. Indecision is sort of a huge killer of creativity for me. So if I'm mildly happy with how things are looking, I'm just going to go ahead and start sticking them down. What I did decide though is to peel these ones apart. I hadn't completely stuck them down, and just add a little bit of texture with my Tim Holtz distressing tool. Otherwise it's going to start looking a little bit flat. Now, I'm not adding too much dimension to this particular layout. I do love my Life Crafted album for being able to have big thick embellishments or lots of dimension, foam, that sort of thing, but for this particular layout everything is going to stay relatively flat, and so I do want to add texture if I can, and distressing the edges of some of these layers is just a really simple way to do that. It kind of helps sort of bump them up and separate them from the layers behind, so everything stops looking quite so flat. As I'm going through this pack, I'm trying to distribute the colors evenly. So my photos are about a snow day, and it's sort of disappointing because we're supposed to be in the middle of spring here. I'm supposed to be documenting flowers and sunshine, and here I am documenting the coldest day of the year. Very sad. I mean, pretty, but it was cold, so not my favorite thing to have to document. The other thing with that sort of snowy photo is it does tend to like wash out all the colors, so there's not a whole lot of colors in my photos, and I do kind of want to reflect that in the layers that I'm building. So I'm sticking to the kind of they're green, they're not really teal, it's sort of a muted green color, and a few little pops of pink, because it's very hard to see in my photo here, but there are some pink flowers on the trees. We are in spring before the snow hit anyway, and so those are the colors that I'm trying to pick up in all of these layers. So like I said, I am gluing as I go, just to make sure that these layers get done. And that's it. I've already made 2 little clusters, so that's for my left hand side of my page. I did decide I wanted to add a little bit more of these vintage pages in behind here. I the issue I'm having is everything's looking super white at the moment because I've got that really white snowy photo, and then I've got this white cardstock background, so I wanted to add a little bit more separation between my clusters and that background. And I love these vintage book pages. They're so pretty, and I'm just going to add a little bit in behind this cluster at the back here. Rather than use the edges of the paper, I am tearing into the middle of it, tearing it so that I do get that kind of rough edge, but I want the middle of it because I actually want the text from the book page rather than just the kind of color of the paper, the vintage book paper color along the edges. So that's why I tore into the middle of it. I will keep all those little torn bits because you can really easily add those as layers to these sorts of clusters as well. Now, most of my layers so far are kind of just rectangular and flat, and I do want to add a few little shapes in there, so I've added a bow at the top. I have also added a couple of little stamps in there, and I've tilted those so they're not quite as straight as everything else, just to add a little bit of variety. Now, as far as decorating the right side of my page goes, what I wanted to do was to build another little cluster onto this side. You know I love threes, so my third one is going to go over here on the right hand side of the page. I want to build it so it's not too big. You can see here I'm just working out the placement of it. I don't want it to cover up too much of the actual snow of the picture. That's the point of the page. And so I'm just building one to fill in this kind of space. There's this weird little space here in my photo where the stairs go down and then there's kind of nothing. So it's the perfect space to put one of these clusters in. You can still see the snow in the background, but it kind of, the line of that staircase draws your eye down into that cluster. Now on this particular cluster I am adding a lot more pink than the other ones on the other page, just because I do want to draw attention to the fact that there is some pink in that photo, because the whole point of my page really is that it's a snow in the very wrong season for it to be snowing. And I'm doing the same thing on this page as well, just by roughing up some of those layers just to get a little bit of texture. The other thing I do like to do with the tags, and those are all parts from the cut apart sheet, is I do like to hole punch them. For some reason, just adding that one little step, just punching the hole where it should be, just makes it kind of more real rather than just a cut apart piece. Now I've built this cluster and I am going to stick it down hanging over the edge of my page. You can see here I'm second guessing where I want to put things. I just want to make sure that there's enough snow in there, but I also want to balance it with the two that are on the other side. So when it was right down at the bottom of the page, it felt like it was making the page off balanced because it was directly in line with the one on the right hand side of the page. I'm going to end up moving those two a little bit as well, but what I'm doing at the moment is I've decided I don't like the white background. I thought it would go nicely with the snow, which it does, but it just kind of fades into the background there, and I want to add a little bit more color so that that snow photo really does take up a little bit more emphasis of my spread. Now it's really just deciding which background paper I want to use. There are a lot in here and they all kind of worked in their own way, but what I really love is the pink. I really want to add some more pink into here. I know it's shocking, pink and teal. How did I ever come up with this combination? But because there is that pink in the photos and I'm trying to emphasize that, it really does help to bring out the pink in the photos, but also the pink in the clusters that I've created. So I'm just re-trimming this paper. Again, it's 5 inches wide by 8 1/4 high, and I'm going to use the page I've already trimmed down to punch my holes. I was decided I would cheat and maybe use my single hole punch, but the hole punch that I've got there that's a single one, it actually creates bigger holes than my 6-hole punch, so I just line up the two pieces. I've pulled off the bottom of my hole punch so that I can see where the holes are and line them up and punch them, and that way when I'm doing full pages like this rather than page protectors, all of the holes will always line up on the pages. So now it's just a matter of placing them, and you can see this time I'm making more of a triangular shape with those 3 clusters so that everything's not so straight up and down, and it gives the page just a little bit more motion. Your eyes have got something to sort of go around the page looking at. Remembered that I haven't added a title in here, so what I'm going to do is use these alphas, and I'm just going to spell out Spring Snow, and I'm going to add those to the cluster that's on the right hand page. It's such pretty alpha, this one. They're the palest little teal alphas. They're so pretty. It does not take up a huge sort of visual presence on this page, which is what I love. It just becomes part of that cluster. So the very last thing I have to do on this page is to glue these little clusters in place. I'm making sure that I'm adding a fair amount of adhesive onto these because they will not be behind a page protector. I want them to stay nice and stuck on. And I also want to add a little bit more texture, a little bit more dimension in here. So I am going to add just a few little puffy stickers on here, one or two on each of the little clusters, just again to give that little bit of dimension, that little bit of difference. There's so many gorgeous puffy stickers on this sheet, I couldn't help myself. And that's it. That's this page all done. All I need to do is pop those 2 pages into my Life Crafted album. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. If you want to keep watching, there are a couple more videos on screen. Otherwise, I'll see you next time. Bye guys.